Today's like New Year's for new laws, as government budgets start fresh on July 1st and a lot of new rules and fees take effect. So that means that Colorado's changing in a couple of ways. It becomes a more expensive state to live in. We'll discuss that in a moment. And also a more punishing place to have a drug addiction. Possession of 1 to 4 grams of fentanyl is now a felony, whether or not someone knows their pills or powder contains that substance. It's become the leading cause of overdose deaths. Colorado State Patrol recently intercepted 114 pounds of fentanyl. Marshall Zellinger's along now. And Marshall, the amount seized by CSP, there's going to be a felony with or without this new law.
Oh, yeah. Possessing 114 pounds of fentanyl was already a serious crime and is not impacted by today's new law. What you see here, 48 bricks of pure fentanyl. This was seized by Colorado State Patrol during a traffic stop on I-70 near Georgetown on June 20th. The bus leading to this photo was first reported by the Denver Gazette today. CSP is not providing any other details about that traffic stop. I also got this other photo of a June 18th bus. The burrito wrap packages are really 14 pounds of fentanyl pills. These buses are separate from the new possession law that went into effect today. We covered the content of that in the committee hearings extensively during the legislative session. On the last day, lawmakers reversed a 2019 law and once again made possession of 1 to 4 grams of fentanyl a felony. Based on testimony during the committee hearings, the amount of pills 114 pounds of pure fentanyl could create, that could be around 500,000 pills. I spoke with a doctor who testified against the fentanyl bill about what this type of bust means for the people she treats who are addicted to fentanyl.
They will still be able to find fentanyl tomorrow, just like they could today. So I don't think that this is going to have much of an on-the-ground level impact on people who are actually using drugs. Our goal is to keep people alive and to reduce rates of drug use and associated harms. Then focusing on supply side interventions like getting drugs off the streets and stopping the influx of drugs into communities is actually not the solution. The solution is focusing on demand and trying to reduce the demand for drugs in the first place.
Here are the key points from the bill that did take effect today. It felonizes, meaning a harsher punishment, for knowingly possessing 1 to 4 grams of a drug with fentanyl. It allows a drug user to go to court and get the felony back down to a misdemeanor if they can convince a jury they made a reasonable mistake and did not know that the drug contained fentanyl, if they go to court. It also makes it a serious felony for the drug dealer if the person who used the fentanyl-laced drug dies, if they catch the drug dealer. Kyle.
And as was admitted on our air on Next, the House Speaker, Democrat Alec Garnett, admitted to Anoush Roy, our colleague, that most of the people charged under this new law with a felony are never going to court because they're going to get squeezed by the system. So even if they don't believe that they knew that they had fentanyl, they're never going to really be in a position to prove that to a jury. They
plead out. They don't get to that day in court where they could try to convince the jury to give them a lesser sentence. And maybe the plea ends up making it down to a misdemeanor. Who knows? But like, they're never going to get to that second step, likely.
All right. Thanks for taking us through what today means in terms of the drug laws. Today is also the day that Colorado's new 2-cent per gallon gas fee was supposed to go into effect. This is the gas fee increase passed by Democrats, now being delayed by Democrats because inflation is up and they're up for re-election. Democratic Governor Jared Polis calls delaying his own gas fee a way to save you money. So you should know there are other fees besides the gas fee that take effect today and are going to cost you even more money. Your next Amazon, UPS, or Grubhub delivery will have a new 27-cent fee. Your next Uber or Lyft ride will be an extra 30 cents. Unless you're riding in an electric ride share, then it's an extra 15 cents. And car share programs will cost an extra $2 a day if you have the car more than 24 hours. A lot of that money will go towards grants and rebates to incentivize electric vehicles. The Republican hoping to be El Paso County's next sheriff is under investigation himself, accused of being part of a bribe to get people to sign the petition to put him on the primary ballot. Current Undersheriff Joe Roybal won that primary. Republicans basically a shoo-in to win in November in El Paso County. Our partners at the Gazette say the former candidate for sheriff, Carl Dent, was the man who filed a formal complaint yesterday, accusing Roybal of getting some of those signatures illegally. Dent, you may recall, was once in the race for sheriff against Roybal, but then Dent's previous felony conviction came to light. Turns out he's ineligible to serve. He then ran unsuccessfully for the state house. Dent came forward to point out that Roybal allowed a local shooting range owner to give discounts in exchange for petition signatures.
And to help them, If you guys come out here today and use my shooting range and sign Joe's petition, we're going to knock off $5 off the shooting range price.
Oh boy, that is not subtle and that is not legal. Video from Dragon Man's gun range shows Roybal standing right next to the owner as he offers that $5 discount in return for your petition signature. The discount was also offered in the video caption, which was posted back in February. State law says clearly that anyone collecting petition signatures cannot directly or indirectly offer money or anything of value in exchange. The district attorney in Pueblo is going to look at this case since the DA in El Paso County is a supporter of Roybal. It's unlikely that Roybal gets booted off the ballot, though, because the statute of limitations on a complaint like that, 5 days. And the gun range discount for your petition signature deal happened back in February. A group dedicated to abortion access says within hours of Roe v. Wade being overturned, they suddenly felt like they were a travel agency, booking ticket after ticket for people to come to Colorado for abortions. Our Anusha Roy looks at the potential legal liability of getting people into our state for that medical care.
For the last week,
it feels like everyone has been in panic mode.
Amanda Carlson works with Cobalt, focused on abortion access and reproductive rights.
My body, my
She said after the Supreme Court's decision, the ripple effect was felt right away.
Our caseload has tripled.
That meant the organization is flying in more people into the state to get abortions.
Have been booking flights, hotels, cash reimbursement for gas, childcare, baby formula, diapers. Many of the folks we serve are low income. They live in rural areas with limited access to health care. They are already parents. Many of them are young. Some are experiencing homelessness.
But hanging over this work are concerns about legal troubles.
Make sure that their staff are safe and not undertaking liability.
In Colorado, advocates at Cobalt feel protected because of state law that safeguards the right to an abortion. Our 9 News legal expert says if a person from out of state is seen by a provider, given medication, or goes through a procedure here
in Colorado, definitely any doctor will be safe from prosecution.
Whitney Traylor says even if someone did try to prosecute a person from Colorado in another state, that would require extradition and cooperation between states.
There would be states fighting with each other, which we have happened now with certain crimes, and folks are trying to extradite folks.
That cooperation might be tricky. Colorado's Attorney General says that he will protect people seeking an abortion no matter where they live and protect medical professionals. But those who are applauding the Supreme Court's decision, like the Catholic Church in Colorado, wrote they are profoundly sad and distressed about more women coming to Colorado for abortion.
So advocates and providers are relying on state law for protection. At the same time, several pro-life groups are joining together to fight that same state law. They're preparing for the 2024 ballot that includes gathering signatures and working on legislation to restrict abortion access. Another group said that while the ballot is something they're discussing, they are also focusing really on outreach and education about resources for people navigating a pregnancy. Of course, Kyle, right, we've seen several attempts before to restrict abortion access that have failed with voters multiple times here in Colorado.
Coloradans have been really clear on that over the years. So, Anusha, I know that Republican elected officials down in Texas have said that with abortion illegal there, they're looking now to prevent people in Texas from leaving that state to get abortions. So what happens say if a doctor here is consulting with somebody in Texas via like telehealth or the phone?
Right, and it's a really interesting gray area right now, right? If that initial consultation is done on telehealth, the person still has to come to Colorado for the medication, for that procedure. So that gives the provider some protection. The question that our legal expert says is what is going to be that legal battle about people crossing state lines, getting an abortion, going back to a state that says it's banned, as well as states debating, do we try to stop help via telehealth? Honestly, it's confusing. There aren't a lot of really great answers right now. And Whitney was saying it's ultimately going to be battled out in court.
One reason why you see people who advocate for abortion access telling folks who are just interested in the cause, don't involve yourself in this legal stuff because you may not know what you're getting yourself into. All right, Anusha, thank you. You know what they say, Nothing gets you over the last one like the next one. We're talking about county health departments, of course. Douglas, Arapahoe, and Adams County are all on to their own separate health departments after Tri-County Health was split up amid the pressures of the pandemic. Arapahoe's new public health leader is a familiar face. That's Jennifer Ludwig, previously the deputy director at the old Tri-County. She starts her job later this month. A lot to do because that Board of Health has to be up and running fully by the start of next year. Douglas County's new health department is up and running, holding meetings. Adams County was the last to leave the throuple, but now ADCO has a transitional health care department leader, and they're recruiting staff and mapping out a budget, because now each of those three counties' taxpayers will be funding their own health departments. There are Coloradans out there who really want to work, but there's something in their past that's making employers wary. Could be a criminal conviction or addiction issues, homelessness. There is a fantastic nonprofit that's offering those Coloradans work experience right away. So then they can walk in and tell a future employer, yeah, I've struggled, but look what I've done lately. That's why your Word of Thanks microgiving campaign this week supports Mile High Workshop. That nonprofit does contract production work for a number of brands that you and I know. Their employees, Coloradans with barriers to employment, gain job skills, and most importantly, they get work history they can be proud of, that they can take to a future employer. This is about helping people who really want to work and just have a stumbling block in their past. Scan the QR code on your screen, text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to join me and a bunch of other Next viewers who have raised more than $6,000 since Wednesday night. Mile High Workshop is a way into the workforce for Coloradans who are looking to achieve self-sufficiency and success for themselves and their families. Let's help them offer jobs to even more of our neighbors. Water flowed down into a suburban community's supply until it didn't.
This is a very valuable resource to us, and we'll do what we need to do to protect it.
The city says this wasn't nature. It was humans meddling with the water. And it's Friday.
This is a red kangaroo. His name is Boing.
This is somehow related to your good news. I don't know how, but it's next. The city of North Glen may have dodged a water disaster. City workers noticed the flow of water into Stanley Lake from the mountains was low this year. It wasn't a seasonal thing, though. It was vandalism. Here's Noel Brennan.
Water flows freely, but not without cost.
This is a big deal to us. This water is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not a million.
Diana Wilson with the city of North Glen is talking about the city's water way up on Berthoud Pass. A ditch sends water from the mountains to Stanley Lake for the city's use. A gate system makes that possible.
About a week and a half ago, we opened our gates up on Berthoud Pass that provides North Glen with a lot of water, and noticed that our flows were down.
All these systems up there have gauges and controls and mechanisms.
A system someone vandalized.
How these gates were damaged and vandalized basically diverted that water from going down into the metro area into the Fraser River.
Grand County Sheriff Brett Schroetland has seen this before.
That 2019 case still remains active.
One gate was damaged in 2019, but this time it's 4.
This had to take some planning and understanding of the water system and the structure to be able to actually pull this off.
The chances that it was random, in our opinion, pretty low.
North Glen noticed the damage quickly enough that the city's water supply won't be impacted.
If it would have been a drought year, we really could have been in trouble.
But repairs to the gates will cost $50,000.
This is a very significant crime, a lot of financial impacts attached to this, and this person needs to be held accountable.
So water can flow freely to a city that needs it.
This is a very valuable resource to us, and we'll do what we need to do to protect it.
For Next, I'm Noel Brennan.
So North Glen's looking at new ways to keep an eye on those water gates. The city is also saying that supply chain issues could delay the repairs to those gates.
Happy Friday. It was a pretty nice afternoon. Some sunshine early, but looking off to the west, some darker skies. We have maybe another couple of hours where we could see 1 or 2 isolated thunderstorms cross the I-25 corridor, but most of the action has been up in the mountains and then across far southern Colorado. We'll zoom in here to the city. You can see a few quick storms starting to develop up in the foothills. We'll see if they can survive here into the metro area, but it has been quite the light show east of I-25 off to the eastern plains with some pretty heavy rain and again a lot of lightning. These storms move out after about 11 o'clock, and tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. if you're hopping in the car, you're heading out for the holiday weekend, things are looking good. It's going to be right after lunchtime. The clouds start to roll in. Thunderstorms will be a bit more widespread up into the mountains, just isolated here in Denver, few and far between, and then by 11 o'clock tomorrow night, everything scoots out. Temperatures starting to warm up. We're back to the upper 80s, lower 90s for Saturday. 90s off to the eastern plains, a little bit more manageable. Some 60s and 70s up in the mountains. As this ridge of high pressure continues to strengthen over the course of the next couple of days, leading into the 4th of July, it's going to bring us the heat and also allow that monsoon moisture to shift just a bit further off to the west. Isolated storms, a high of 95 on Monday, and the 90-degree heat, whew, it sticks around for all of next week.
Good things happen and never make the nightly news until you bring them to our attention here each Friday.
My good news is that I'm here at Denver Fan Expo.
I feel like that would be really hot today. Yeah, not my business. It's yours, like it's your good news. Next. Some different scenery there. It's a new month. The Stanley Cup's in Colorado, and it just barely rained on the Avs parade yesterday. All of that is good news, and I'm guessing that you have more to add because it is Friday, and you always do. Here's an assortment of it from the Denver Fan Expo.
Things have been going well. New jobs for me. Things are looking up.
What you see right now, this is the calm before the storm.
Yeah, this is a pretty long line. This is the line to get in.
My good news is that I'm here at Denver Fan Expo with my best friend of 5 years now.
My good news is I'm turning 18 soon, and I'll be doing adult stuff.
My good news is I just got a scholarship for CU Denver in the fall from the Latin American Educational Fund.
My good news is that this wonderful woman here happens to be in the possession of a proposal ring for me at some point.
I asked him to marry me like a year ago after he had a surgery, but he just wasn't ready, so we kept waiting, and so now's the time, finally, but I'm dedicated to him, obviously.
My good news is that I'm getting a job. I'm going to be able to experience like new things.
My good news is that I'm graduating next year from CCD with my associates in graphic design, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
My good news is my uncle is here.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see what's in there. I've never really been.
This is a red kangaroo. His name is Boing.
My good news is my daughter, Leah Huddleston, just got engaged to her boyfriend, Devin Taborn.
My good news is that we just hatched some baby quail on the farm today, and they're so cute and tiny.
My good news for the day is that I'm doing comics, baby. I'm selling comics.
My good news is that the Colorado Avalanches won the Stanley Cup.
An orange person talking about baby quail. You don't find that on the other news programs. Only here. It's a sign that leaves room for interpretation. We'll have that and your feedback next. It's a sign, the one you wondered if you'd ever see. Nancy was walking through her neighborhood at the top of Cold Creek Canyon when she came across a trio of signs on a neighbor's tree. If you were waiting for a sign, they read, "This is it." There you go. If you needed one, it's right in front of you. Send the signs you see to next at 9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext. Elaine asks us to quantify our reporting regarding the uptick of abortions in Colorado. So, Elaine, the last numbers that we have are from 2021, when there were 11,580 abortions provided in our state. Because Anusha's story was talking about in-state versus out-of-state for that last year in 2021, 86.5% of all abortions in Colorado were performed for Coloradans. Then it was folks coming into state from Wyoming and Texas after that. See you next time.